going to move on to the Cavs versus Celtics. And I just want to start by saying, yes, the Celtics were missing Derek White and Jaylen Brown, which are two key players on their teams. Like, they're second and third best players. But I still think this game was pretty telling because in their last matchup, the Cavs were missing Isaac Okoro. They were missing Karis LeVert, missing Darius Garland because he played pretty horrible. But they turned it around in this game. I'm going to start with the Cavs, and I kind of want to – there was 4 players that I kind of want to highlight throughout this game. I'm going to start with Darius Garland because I just mentioned he had a bad game in their last outing against the Celtics. And in this one, he had a huge bounce back. He finished the game with 22 points, 8 assists on 0 turnovers. That's the big number. No turnovers. So scoring the ball efficiently, making sure guys were getting touches, and especially the bigs. Because Donovan Mitchell typically creates on his own, but he was making sure he was feeding Mobley and Allen, especially in the fourth. He struggled defensively throughout the game. He was especially getting picked on by Jason Tatum, but he got a big stop in the fourth quarter, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But moving on, another big key contributor for them was Isaac Okoro. He was 2 for 2 on threes, but each three that he shot was pivotal. It was massive in the game. Like the one in the fourth quarter, I think they were down 5, and they left him open, and he lined it up. He made the 3 and cut it to a 2-point game. And he also just did a good job bothering Tatum. He had this big chase down block after Evan Mobley threw a turnover where it didn't even look like he could jump anymore. He was already, it's like he double jumped in air and just swatted it away. And Tatum for sure was not expecting that because you used to see his face after play. He was laughing, and it was a good block. And he played a pretty good game. And it kind of shows you why he's so important to this team because they didn't have him in the last matchup. Tatum went off. And don't get me wrong, Tatum did his thing again tonight, but it wasn't as easy as before. Now, moving on to Evan Mobley. During the game, I wrote down a few notes. And like as I was writing them down, he kind of fixed them. The first thing was I just said he needed to protect the ball better because there was a couple times like he'd post up and they were able to poke it away. Or there was one time he got stripped by Peyton Pritchard where if he just held the ball a little higher, that doesn't happen. And also said he needed to go up stronger and then just be more decisive because he had a jump hook like that he tried to shoot. It was blocked by Porzingis. And then late in the third quarter, he kind of got stonewalled where like he was trying to post up and then he didn't know what he wanted to do. And then he ended up just throwing a bad turnover. And then he had another one like that in the fourth. So it was kind of just cleaning up that stuff. And kind of like right after I started like jotting it down and mentioning it, he switched up his approach. Like he started going at Porzingis like directly in his chest because with shot blockers to kind of take away their length, you have to hit them a little bit. And he started to realize that and like I can kind of go through this guy. And so his scoring picked up in the fourth. And then he also like throughout the game, and the Cavs have kind of been doing this all season, but they've been running these inverted pick and rolls that the Nuggets do this with Jokic a lot, but the big is basically the ball handler and you have the guard come set the screen. And if your big is a decent enough ball handler, it just allows for switches to happen and also for your big to get downhill at an angle. It just makes things a lot easier for him. So, and then also he was getting fed a lot by Darius Garland. Like he was setting him up and doing his job as the point guard. But I think the most important person in this game was Donovan Mitchell. He had a quiet first half. He didn't do particularly much. I think he had about 11, but he came out guns blazing in the fourth quarter and third and fourth, honestly. He dominated just by, I just feel like I kind of compare Ja Morant in the way he's explosive and always has, in the sense that he always, every single game, he's always going to have some type of highlight or like highlight worthy play. I feel the same way about Donovan Mitchell. Like he's so quick and explosive and he has these crazy acrobatic finishes, like crazy bursts, crazy hops. And he has this like super fast spin he does all the time where like you're like, what are you doing? And he'll like split 2 defenders and like throw the ball out. It's just crazy to watch. But he dominated in this game, especially in the second half. And the biggest thing was he was being guarded by Drew Holiday. So like it wasn't like you had a bum on him and he was just getting off. No. He had one of the best defenders in the league on him. And especially in the fourth, he was torching him. he had 3 big threes in the fourth, and it just felt like he couldn't miss. Every shot he took, every free throw, every layup, everything was just going in. And you can see it on his face. He was having a great time, and the crowd was going crazy, and a great game on the Cavs front. But moving on to the Celtics, they were up 12 in the fourth, and you started to kind of get that feeling like when the Celtics get a big lead in the fourth, it's kind of hard to walk them down because they shoot so many threes. They have so many athletes out there. They're a great defensive team. So the thoughts, they started to creep in. I'm like, dang, this game is over. And that's kind of when Donovan Mitchell took control of things. And the Cavs also had a big stretch when Donovan Mitchell sat late in the fourth because he needed a little bit of rest, where their bench came in and just provided meaningful scoring and just production overall. On the Celtics front, Porzingis is just a major mismatch. Like, easiest way to put it. For whatever team the Celtics face, like, you have a 7'3" guy who can stretch the floor, he's great at helping them get offensive rebounds. He's just bigger than everyone. Like, and the Cavs are running I guess it ended up working because they won the game, but they had Ty Jerome, their backup point guard, guarding Porzingis for like the entire fourth quarter when he was out there. And they kind of had Evan Mobley playing off of Drew Holiday because he's like the Celtics, I guess, worst shooter this season. Not I guess. He has been like one of their in the starting lineup at least with those guys, their worst shooter. So he kind of had him helping off, but there was a couple times where Mobley just wasn't able to recover and get there fast enough. So Porzingis would shoot like a fadeaway or mid range because like he has like a foot over the guy. But the big thing with Porzingis is just his size and his shooting ability. It allows for the Celtics to offensive rebound a lot better because it draws the big away from the basket. And then his shooting, because he loves to stand and shoot that like trailing three at the top of the key, which is one of the hardest spots for bigs to come out to because he's so far away from the basket. Always gets that. He is just a godsend for this team, and they look so much better since he's been back. And they were already a great team, and he just adds another element. And it's kind of every time, because like last season he was hurt, and then they had to reassert him. It's always, you forget how good they are when he's on the floor, and he shows you like time and time again. Sorry about that. And then moving on, there was 2 other players that I wanted to touch on in this game for the Celtics. One was Peyton Pritchard. He is just such a good player. Like, it is such a luxury to have a guard like that off your bench. A guy who can score in isolation. He can shoot threes. He's not scared to shoot it whatsoever. He can dribble. He is a solid defender, and he just does a lot of things well. And potentially he could be a starter on other teams throughout the league. So you just have a great quality bench player who can come in when guys are out and produce, and that's exactly what he did. Like, I think the one shot that I was just like, whoa, like he sized up Evan Mobley at the top of the key and then hit him with like a snatchback 3, like right in his face. I'm just like dog, like that's a crazy shot, especially in that moment. Like, you got to have confidence to be able to shoot that shot, and you got to have skill to be able to hit it. So shout out to him. And then lastly, Tatum. He was killing the Cavs all night. Like, they're smaller defenders. Specifically, Darius Garland, I mentioned earlier, he would get him on switches and just post him up, get to a spot, and shoot over him. Like, he was making a killing in the mid range. Like, he size him up, post him up. Shoot right over the top of him, and it's just an easy shot for him. He's bigger than Darius Garland. He's stronger than him, and he's just a great shooter. And he also was hitting tough threes, and Evan Mobley was getting kind of not. I don't think this was purposefully because he's a great defender, but he was getting picked on at the top of the key. Like, Tatum also, similar to Peyton Pritchard, he sized him up, hit like a tough sidestep 3 on him, and even the announcer is like, "That's a tough shot. He's gonna settle for that," and he hit it. And the announcer, "Oh, like, you just gotta live with that. You know, that's a tough shot." But it was. But Tatum has been hitting that all season, so it's not a big shocker there. But he had a very solid game, and he was torching Garland up until the fourth. And I mentioned this earlier that I was going to come back to this, but it was a key play where Darius Garland got a stop on him in I don't know if it was the last minute of the game, I think. But he got a huge stop to kind of help the Cavs end up going up 4. Like, he recovered back on Tatum and forced him to miss a layup, which Tatum doesn't normally do. It was just a big stop for him. So it was an exciting game overall, and I think this game kind of just shows that the Cavs are definitely number 2 in the East for starters. There's a lot of people, myself included, who has kind of been skeptical about them, but they've showed up and they've showed out, and especially against the Celtics, like both of these games coming down to the wire, and I think a playoff series between these two teams would be must watch TV because there's so many stars involved. The teams are so they have different advantages over one another, and they just play so hard against each other. And the Cavs and Celtics, that's been a rivalry that's been brewing over the years. So even with LeBron gone, the Cavs are still in Celtics. They still go at it. So love to see it, and I'm excited to see how both teams fare out. And that might be an Eastern Conference Finals preview. Who knows?